Hi, and welcome to the CCRE Collective information session. My name is Takima Bunch-Smith, and I'll be walking you through all the information you need to know in order to make the decision about whether or not you will register for our cohort 3 of the collective. And once I'm done, I think you are really going to want to sign up for it. Since this is being recorded, you'll be able to access it. It'll be accessible on our website. And if you have any questions that come up as you complete the viewing, you will be able to email us, and I will be able to share that information as we go along. So just to be clear, the CCRE Collective is a project coming out of Bank Street College of Education, the Center on Culture, Race, and Equity in particular. So our project team to date, as you will see, are these wonderful people. Rajia Finney-Myers is the Executive Director of CCRE. Mariette Rivera Nieves is a Program Administrator. Megan Pamela Ruth Madison, is a facilitator and coach. Takima Bunch-Smith, that would be me, is a facilitator and coach as well. Kate Engel is a facilitator and coach, and Vero Benavides was the former executive director of CCRE and was the co-designer of this amazing project program, the CCRE Collective. So this is the project team configuration through the end of 2023. And so we will update folks on the project configuration for cohort 3, which will begin in September 2023. If you have any questions, you won't be able to submit them because you'll be looking at this recording, but you will be able to email us. Again, I will share the email address momentarily. And so a bit about CCRE, the Center on Culture, Race, and Equity at Bank Street College of Education partners with educators, community members, family members, and leaders to collaboratively shift beliefs, behaviors, and practices so that children of all backgrounds can thrive and realize their full potential. We understand that this is currently not the case within schools and educational organizations, that children of all backgrounds are not currently thriving and realizing their full potential. And our mission is to shift that through our work. So our theory of change is what follows below on the screen. We first work to expand knowledge and awareness for our participants, and we support people on multiple levels, the personal, the professional, and the institutional levels for change. And so part of what happens on the personal level is that folks develop and cultivate strength-based attitudes as opposed to deficit-based attitudes, which is very much the norm when it comes to our educational system, broadly defined. We support folks to build their own skills and practices and their capacity to understand and to create change. And we then, all of this, when people work on the personal and the professional level, it creates institutional change. And so folks begin to develop equitable systems and structures. And when multiple institutions are doing that within a system, for example, the education system, we know that change happens. So that will lead us to our vision of children of all backgrounds thriving and reaching their full potential. We have a traditional sequence of engagements that we have done since the founding of CCRE officially in 2015. And that process is called a community-based design process that we've done with schools and districts, and we continue to do as well. So that process is as follows. We begin with an equity snapshot where we gather information about the strengths, challenges, and resources present within a district or an organization or a school, for example. We collect amazing data that we then synthesize and reflect back to participants in working groups, because we want folks to have data organized and user-friendly and actually be something that folks can use to understand what's happening in their environments and to shift that. So we make it a really, really good point to give information, give the data in the equity snapshot back to people who are interested in the data, who can look at it and make sense of it and actually get excited about what they're learning about their programs. So in the working groups is where folks examine the data that we have supportedly or collaboratively collected for them. And together, the working group participants, as well as the CCRE team, will create a vision for growth that's based on this data and people's experiences within the school. So that is a different approach than some approaches to doing equity work, in that we have ideas and we have knowledge, and we have information, but we come at it with a partnership approach so that we can co-create the vision for change instead of telling folks what they need to do. We definitely can support people and build capacity, but we are interested in you being your own best resources at the end of the day. So we then design the professional development sessions that are customized based on the things that the working groups have identified. We really support staff and families who we include in the process to learn together in community, to build their resources, to strengthen their relationships, and to set concrete equity goals that they begin to work on when they are with us and in year one, and then continue to do that in subsequent years. So that is our district and school community-based design project, which is traditionally previously the work that we did, and now we have included or added on. So with our traditional community-based design projects, we have worked in a lot of organizations around New York City, New York State, and around the United States, and even actually in Liberia in Africa. So you can see we've worked with DreamYard, an arts organization, Cook School, a school that serves students with disabilities from ages to, I think, until 21. Many schools and districts within New York City DOE and across New York State, community-based organizations like University Settlement and Bronx Works, and more. So we launched the CCRE Collective back in 2020 in our first cohort. And so we are moving into, 2021. 21, 22, 22, 23. Yes, 2021. And so this is an additional offering that we have at CCRE that I'm going to talk about for the rest of this time. So the CCRE Collective is an online program that is it's focused on cohorts of folks, so it's not for one individual from an organization. We look for 3 to 4 key staff members and potentially parents as well to join together so that there can be a team within an organization or district that can work together to reimagine and redesign these inequitable systems that are present in every organization, every school, every district, and every part of our educational system. So 3 to 4 key staff members. Ultimately, we aim to have 8 organizations join the collective for the 2023-2024 cohort. The sessions that we offer will take place during work hours between October 2023 and May 2024. They are spaced throughout the year. I'll show you the calendar in a moment as well. The program, the collective, is virtual on Zoom right now so that we can welcome participants from all states. And we make it a point to make sure that folks can join depending on your time zone. So we work together to identify times that work best. And the cost for the collective per organization for a team of 3 is $30,000. And that is the overview. Okay, so here are the components of the CCRE Collective. There are 4 foundational workshops, 4 communities of practice, and 4 coaching for equity circles. I will go into a little bit more detail about the things, the components, but I just want to give you that overview and let you know that within all of those things, across the whole program, there are countless insights and tools that participants have access to, learning about, practicing, co-practicing with cohort members, that folks really have an incredible wealth of information that they get access to. And the idea is that we're not just going to talk about it, we're going to put it right into your context. You're going to walk away from each of our sessions, putting some of these things right into practice and coming back and reflecting and refining and continuing to push forward your goals around equity. The cohort-based model is so important because no one can do systems change and equity work in isolation if it's going to be effective and sustainable. And so being in a cohort supports each person and each organization to foster connections and relationships that really, really sustain folks both personally and professionally throughout this journey. So there's 4 workshops that we just want to share with you. Again, they're spaced out throughout the year. And so the first workshop happens in the fall 2023. The second workshop is in early winter 2024. And then you'll see 3 and 4 happen again spaced out into the spring or late winter and spring of 2024. And so understanding racism then and now is a really important foundational workshop that will also be presented in a way that is unique to CCRE. It's not a racism 101 workshop, which some people, many people have already had access to. And so it really deepens folks' understanding of the origins and the current day manifestations of racism in the US, and also within educational settings as well. And so this is the foundation that helps us begin to explore effective anti-racism practices and policies. The second workshop specifically looks at racism and other forms of oppression that show up in educational settings. And the result of those issues are push out, erasure, and criminalization. So we go into looking at sort of building on the first workshop and really seeing how it manifests, and also how we start to critically analyze the components of that pipeline for push out and erasure and criminalization. And so that is workshop 2, and then 3 and 4. So anti-racist practice and designing for brilliance is workshop 3. And so this workshop really takes folks into a practice of, well, how do we start to disrupt the racism, right? How do we start to build the equity and the anti-racist environments for children of all ages? And so this is where we get to do it. And we're going to take a strength-based perspective, because we would have looked at all of the manifestations of the deficit-based perspective. So now we switch and look at how do we design for the brilliance of all children. And then the last workshop is really looking at what it means to be a leader for equity. And this is not based on anyone's title, right? Anyone who is seeing themselves as a leader and taking actions towards leadership for equity is a leader. And so we'll be able to support folks to develop strategic plans and action steps that they take back to their organizations, right? And thinking about what the next steps are, because this is a journey that will be really for the rest of our lives. So this is what it looks like in terms of the calendar. This was based on the 2022-2023 calendar, and we will shift it to make sense for those who are a part of the 2023-2024 cohort. But just so you get an idea of what the timing looks like for each of the components, you'll see that in September to October, probably October, we'll be doing that first foundational workshop. And then we'll have a coaching for equity circle and a community for practice. And then we do another foundational workshop, another coaching for equity. It's like, so if you look at this, you'll see there's a pattern of workshop, coaching, community, or practice. And then we continue that until we get to the last one, which will, again, in this year, be really in May. In this academic year, 2023-2024, will be in May. So just as this is like a reference point, but know that when you register for the collective, our calendar will be a little bit pushed back, be starting in October and ending in May. But this is the trend of how the components go. So here's what you can expect from us. CCRE has a team of deeply experienced and very caring facilitators. We are all deeply invested in your growth and success, deeply. And we show that in all of our interactions, in all of our coaching, in all of our communications with you, and all of our facilitations. Will be immediately obvious to you how invested we are in you and your organization and the students and children that you work with. We create a holding environment where people are encouraged to practice, test, and grow their skill set while being held accountable for their energy and their impact. So accountability is love, and we do all the work that we do with that mindset. If you don't care about people or outcomes, then you don't hold anyone accountable. And we also hold ourselves accountable for our learning and growth as well. We also have an eagerness to learn and grow from your expertise and feedback. We love learning from what you are doing, what you're trying, what worked, what didn't work, what new ideas. This is a learning space for all of us. And so we are so happy to be in community with you. We also offer reduced program rates for eligible partner organizations. So that would be a communication that we would have with you. You would share your interests and needs, and we could go from there. So what you could expect to experience when you apply to be a part of the cohort is that we have provided a research-based program that is rooted in the principles of adult learning. So it is actually nothing like this presentation. We do not just read slides to folks in the cohort. This is a quick, overview, so that's why I'm doing that now. And but in terms of our sessions, they are both action-oriented, multimedia, virtual, yes, but you're also encouraged to take your learning and experiences off of the screen and connect what we're learning and talking about into your own lives and work. So you can also expect that what we work on with you, what we teach, what we facilitate, what we explore is going to give you some things and some ideas and some energy to go out into your environment and start to create strategic plans and action steps to create more racially equitable environments. Our group is intimate, and so vulnerability is something that both happens naturally and also something that we support and encourage so that people can really be committed, all in, and know that you have a network of people that will support you in this work. There will be some discomfort, some challenge, lots of community, lots of laughter, and lots of love in the CCRE Collective experience. We have some feedback from previous cohorts, and it was a very, very, very positive. 100% of the first cohort said that they would recommend the CCRE Collective to others, and 100% said that their knowledge and skills have improved as a result of their participation. We had some other comments that we wanted to share with you. People felt grounded and that they could communicate things that they had learned in the collective out to their community, meaning their school community. And then they were able to really see their equity problems and issues in their school much more clearly. Folks talked about the coaching and how they learned to listen more deliberately and to hear deeper equity-focused questions, even when the focus wasn't on equity. They were able to dig in and notice equity where they hadn't noticed it before. And folks commented that the facilitation was transformative for them, both the content, but also how the learning experience was created. It helped people feel very held and inspired and excited, and they took ideas back to their own environments, their own organizations. So we have expectations for participants. So think about what we're asking for, what we hope that you will come ready to experience. So your presence, your intention, your commitment, and a willingness to learn. That might sound obvious, but we also know that folks are very, very busy in schools. And sometimes, you know, you sit down and it's like, I'm going to do other things, but that doesn't work. Right? So we really want presence and mindfulness and commitment to being a part of the cohort and attending all of the sessions as much as humanly possible. So full participation in all of the program elements, and the commitment to saying we're going to show up for our components, and when we leave, we're going to bring those lessons and those learnings and those frameworks and those questions out into the school or the organization and really make that connection. So we also obviously would expect an institutional investment, again, which is $30,000 for a team of 3 per organization. So if you're thinking about applying, these are the types of organizations we're looking to work with in the collective. Organizations that are invested in equitable systems change, who can support the participation, the full participation of 3 to 4 key staff. Organizations or teams that have previous experience with conversations about race, equity, and inclusion. This is really important. This is not a beginner level course in equity or anti-racism. And so when you check out the application, you'll see that we will ask you, what kind of work, what kind of reading, what kind of training, what kind of experiences have you had? Kind of thinking or conversations have you had? We're not expecting people to come in with a PhD in anti-racism, but we also want to make sure that folks don't come in, for example, not being clear that racism exists. That would not be an organization that would be a good fit for the CCRE Collective, because we're not going to start at the 101 level or the foundational level around anti-racism and equity. So we have this application and we have screening criteria so that we can have an equitable screening process for all the applications that come in. And these are what we look at. We want to make sure that the organization demonstrates some knowledge about equity and anti-racist practices. And to be clear, it's also okay if you show knowledge about equity and anti-racism, maybe have implemented or tried to implement some things and it didn't work. That's fine, because that's what we will work on with you. So don't feel like you have to show that you've done X, Y, and Z and it's been super successful. If it has, that's great. If it hasn't, that's also okay. But just the idea that you have engaged with equity and anti-racism in some way. We want the candidate team that applies to represent different roles across the organization. So we don't want an organization to apply just for 3 to 4 teachers or 3 to 4 leaders or 3 to 4 parents. If there's a mix of folks, then that is important to us so that we can spread the learning and the impact across the organization from different roles and perspectives. We are looking to see that the organization's staff is representative of the community that it serves as much as possible. And if it isn't, then there can be comments about that as well. We're looking to see that the organization has a clear understanding of their specific equity concerns. So again, you don't have to have a clear understanding of the solutions, but you should be clear like what your problems are. And we all have equity problems and concerns, by the way. We want to make sure that the organization's equity concerns are manageable and can be addressed by the CCRE Collective model. So that's something you should reflect on as well. If your equity challenge is so huge and so layered and so deeply entrenched, you may want to consider, is that something that needs to be elevated, for example, to a funder or policy body? But we encourage you to share your thoughts with us as well. Don't not apply. If you're not sure, you can reach out to us and ask questions before you apply as well. So again, the organization has shown some previous efforts related to equity and anti-racist practices. The organization shows that there's a clear plan and a commitment to setting aside time for the team to participate in the program, and that the organization is a strong fit for the third cohort of the CCRE Collective. We've already had the inaugural class at this point. And so here's some important dates. The general application deadline is Monday, July 31st. Now, if you are working in a nonprofit or an organization or a school, that might feel so far away as we come upon the end of the fiscal year and the end of the school year. But with vacation schedules, with other things that you might be trying to catch up on, it's going to come quickly. So that's the deadline, but you can absolutely submit your application right now. You could submit it tomorrow. We are working and we are reviewing applications, but definitely by Monday, July 31st. And if you have any questions, of course, as you're doing the application, email us. Again, I will give you the email address momentarily. So applicants selected will be selected and notified by August 14th, right? And we will ask participants to confirm, organizations to confirm that they'll participate in the collective no later than September 1st. So the next steps, as I said, we are accepting applications on a rolling basis. So we are currently reviewing applications right now and developing a candidate selection process. After the July 30th, we will select the candidates and let people know that they've been accepted into the collective. We will share a memorandum of understanding, an MOU, which outlines basically sort of all the terms of our engagement. And then we'll go ahead and start to confirm the dates for the 2023-2024 school year or academic year. So you have until July 31st to think about everything that I've shared with you and everything that is available for you to review on the website. If you have any questions at all, and I mean any questions at all, please reach out to us at CCRE@bankstreet.edu. We will respond and we will answer your question in email. If that works, if you'd like to give a call or get on a call or a Zoom, we will do that as well. We are very excited to engage with anyone who is considering or has questions about applying. If you have all your questions answered and you're like, I'm in, submit your application. Okay, submit your application and we'll be excited to review it and we'll be in touch. So those are the next steps. Again, Q&A. If you have any questions, CCRE@bankstreet.edu. This will be posted alongside this video, so you'll have that right away. And you can check out our website at bankstreet.edu/CCRE, and you can follow us on Twitter. Our CCRE Twitter account is at CCRE_BSC. The general Twitter account of Bank Street is bankstreet.edu. Again, check out our website. We have a lot of information there about the collective. We also have a lot of resources there for you to take a look at, free of charge. And there are some videos. There's so many things on our website. It's very, very rich. So we invite you to take a look. And that is the end for this webinar. So thank you for watching it. If you watch it to the end, I look forward to hearing from you, to being in community with you, and I thank you.